Hello, and welcome to Sleepy History. Tonight, we journey back to a time of flickering candlelight, the rhythmic click of the printing press, and the quiet wisdom of one of history's most extraordinary minds. I am always curious where in the world and at what hour you are joining me, so feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below if you wish. Now, settle in. Let the hum of the modern world fade away. Allow the gentle drone of the rain outside, or the soft whisper of the sea, to carry you to a quieter era. We are traveling to the heart of the 18th century, to the bustling yet often serene world of Benjamin Franklin. This is a life woven with threads of invention, diplomacy, and an unwavering pursuit of order. A life that offers a comforting rhythm for our own restless minds. Tonight, we will explore the quiet corners of his existence, the routines and sensations that shaped his remarkable journey, and perhaps, in doing so, find a peaceful cadence for your own evening. As the gas lamps of Philadelphia began to sputter into existence, casting long, wavering shadows down cobblestone streets. A different kind of light often burned late in a modest brick house. It was the soft glow of a single candle, illuminating a man bent over a ledger, a quill poised in his hand. The city outside would gradually fall silent, save for the distant cry of a watchman calling out the hour. 10 o'clock and all's well. Sestier, the rhythmic patter of rain beginning to fall, a soft, steady accompaniment to the quiet rituals within. Benjamin Franklin, ever the architect of his own existence, had a profound appreciation for order. Not just the order of civic life, which he would so meticulously help to build, but the intimate, internal order of a well-lived day. Each evening, as the world outside prepared for slumber, he would sit at his desk, the polished wood reflecting the candle's flame. Before him lay a simple, yet profound, tool, his daily schedule. It was a grid, a map of his waking hours filled with tasks and intentions, and at the bottom a single guiding question, a quiet echo in the stillness of the room. What good have I done today? His fingers perhaps still faintly smelling of printer's ink or the tang of chemicals from some new experiment, would carefully take up his pen. With a precise, almost meditative stroke, he would tick off the completed items. The morning's reading, the day's work, the evening's conversation. Each line drawn was a small act of completion, a gentle closing of a chapter. The subtle scratching sound of the quill against the paper, a soft whisper in the quiet, was a testament to a day accounted for, a life observed. This was not a harsh judgment, but a gentle inquiry, a moment of peaceful self-reflection. It was a way to gather the loose ends of the day, to acknowledge small triumphs, and to release what could not be changed. Imagine the quiet satisfaction as the last item was crossed, the sense of a world neatly filed away. The rain outside might intensify, drumming softly against the windowpanes, creating a soothing cocoon of sound. Franklin would then carefully close his ledger, the faint scent of ink mingling with the damp air, and as he extinguished the candle, plunging the room into a comforting darkness, the question would fade, leaving behind only the profound peace of a day thoughtfully concluded. This methodical winding down, this gentle archiving of time, offered a deep sense of calm, a quiet permission to let go of the day's concerns, much like the steady drip of rain washing the city clean. Long before the refined quiet of his evening reflections, the world of Benjamin Franklin was filled with a different kind of order, a different kind of rhythm. It was the mechanical poetry of the printing shop, a place where the air itself seemed to hum with purpose and the distinct earthy scent of fresh ink clung to everything. His earliest years, first in Boston and then in Philadelphia, were steeped in this world of lead and paper, a sensory landscape that would forever shape his meticulous mind. Imagine stepping into such a workshop. It wasn't loud in the way a modern factory might be. Instead, it possessed a unique, almost monastic quiet, punctuated by specific, soothing sounds. The soft metallic click of individual lead type being selected from its partitioned case, each tiny character a miniature building block of language. A young Benjamin, his fingers nimble and quick, would meticulously pick letter after letter, his mind focused, his brow furrowed in concentration. The slight rustle as he placed each piece into the composing stick, forming words, then lines, then paragraphs. This was a dance of precision, a silent ballet of metal and thought. The light in these early shops was often dim, a warm, amber glow from oil lamps or small, high windows casting soft shadows that danced with the movements of the apprentices. The air was heavy, not stale, but rich with the aroma of linseed oil, a binding agent for the ink, and the woody scent of the paper itself. It was a smell that promised knowledge, that whispered of stories and ideas about to be born. Once that type was set, locked into the chase, the rhythmic work of the press began. The gentle, almost whispering friction of the leather covered ink balls as they rolled across the type, evenly distributing the thick, black pigment. Then the heavy, satisfying thud as the platen descended onto the waiting sheet of paper, pressing the ink into the fibers. The subsequent soft tearing sound as the newly printed sheet was carefully lifted, revealing the crisp, dark letters. This cycle, repeated countless times throughout the day, was a hypnotic ballet of motion and sound. Each pull of the lever, each roll of the brayer, each sheet laid down and then lifted, contributed to a steady, comforting pulse. His hands, perpetually stained with the dark, indelible mark of his trade, were not just tools for physical labor. They were instruments of a focused, almost meditative craft. The cool, smooth feel of the lead type, the rough texture of the paper, the slick, oily sensation of the ink toned. These were the tactile anchors of his early life. In this world of mechanical repetition and quiet dedication, the mind found its own rhythm, its own peace. It was a world where every action had a clear purpose, every step a defined outcome, a calming testament to the power of methodical effort. The soft sounds of the press, the pervasive scent of ink, the steady, focused work, Fody, all combined to create a profound sense of groundedness, a soothing immersion in the tangible world. The morning mist hung heavy over the city of Philadelphia, a soft, pearlescent veil that diffused the nascent light of dawn. The air, cool and damp, carried the faint, briny scent of the Delaware River, a vast silver ribbon disappearing into the haze. It was a quiet morning, the streets still largely deserted, save for a few early risers and the occasional creak of a distant wagon wheel. Into this hushed tableau stepped a young man barely 17, his clothes rumpled, his pockets empty, but his spirit, though weary, burning with a quiet determination. This was Benjamin Franklin, newly arrived, a runaway from Boston, seeking a fresh start in a city he knew only by reputation. His journey had been long and arduous, a passage by sea fraught with storms, and then a tiring walk. Hunger, A persistent companion gnawed at him. His first act in this new world was simple, profoundly human. He walked into a baker's shop, drawn by the irresistible aroma of freshly baked bread. He had little money, only a few Dutch coins, but enough for 3 large, puffy rolls. They were warm, still emanating the comforting scent of yeast and hearth fire, a primal promise of sustenance. With 2 of the rolls tucked awkwardly under his arms, their warmth a reassuring weight against his skin, he began to eat the 3rd, walking slowly, deliberately, down the empty streets. The crunch of the crust, the soft chewiness of the interior, the simple, profound satisfaction of it all. He walked past the quiet brick houses, their windows still dark, their inhabitants asleep. He passed the occasional tree, its leaves still wet with dew. The only sounds were his own footsteps, the gentle lapping of the river, and the soft, steady rhythm of his chewing. It was a moment of profound solitude, a solitary figure navigating a new, unknown landscape, finding comfort in the most basic of needs. His wanderings eventually led him to a large, unadorned building, its plain facade suggesting a quiet dignity. It was a Quaker meeting house. The doors were unlocked, as was often the custom, offering a silent invitation to any who sought refuge. He stepped inside, leaving the cool, misty morning behind. The interior was utterly silent, a vast, echoing stillness that seemed to absorb all sound. The air was cool, carrying the faint, comforting scent of aged wood and quiet contemplation. Long, unvarnished wooden benches stretched in neat rows, simple and inviting. Overwhelmed by exhaustion, and finding the quiet sanctuary irresistible, young Benjamin sank onto one of these hard benches. The remaining bread rolls, now a comforting memory of his morning meal, lay untouched beside him. The absolute stillness of the meeting house, the profound sense of peace within its walls, was a balm to his tired body and anxious mind. He leaned back, his head resting against the cool wood, and without intending to, drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep. It was a sleep born of utter weariness, but also of a sudden, unexpected sense of safety and belonging. In this quiet, unadorned space, a penniless runaway found his first true rest in a strange new city, wrapped in the comforting silence of a sanctuary. The lingering aroma of fresh bread, a soft lullaby. The world outside, with its uncertainties, faded away, replaced by the deep, restorative peace of finding a haven. The window, a quiet frame, offered him a shifting canvas. He sat, often by the soft glow of a tallow candle, or the deeper, warmer embrace of a crackling hearth, watching the world outside his study in Philadelphia. It was a world of seasons, of predictable turns, a grand, slow-moving clockwork that whispered of order. Winter first, perhaps, drawing its heavy white blanket across the rooftops and the bare branches of the trees. The snow would fall in silent, thick flakes, muffling the distant sounds of the city, turning the cobblestones into a soft, uneven path of white. Inside, the fire would murmur its low, steady song, casting dancing shadows on the walls of his room. He would feel the chill pressing against the window pane, a gentle reminder of the world's cold breath. Yet he was warm, ensconced in his chair, a quill poised over a fresh sheet of paper. His gaze would drift from the dancing flames to the patterns of the snow, then to the precise, almost mathematical diagrams of the moon's phases that he had sketched himself. Each night, a different sliver of silver or a full, luminous orb. charting its course across the velvet sky. He understood the moon not just as a distant light, but as a silent conductor of tides, a measure of time, a reliable companion to the earth. He noted the precise times of its rising and setting, the ebb and flow of its light, the way it governed the unseen currents of the world. He observed the stars too, not with the distant awe of a poet, but with the keen, methodical eye of a scientist, charting their slow, stately procession across the heavens, understanding their ancient influence on planting and harvesting. As the days lengthened, the snow would melt, dripping from the eaves with a soft, persistent sound, a gentle drumming that spoke of release and renewal. Spring would arrive not with a sudden burst, but with a gradual softening of the air, a subtle greening of the landscape. The first rains would come, delicate and cool, washing the dust from the newly unfurling leaves. He might open his window just a crack, allowing the fresh, damp scent of the earth to drift into his study, mingled with the faint, sweet perfume of blossoming fruit trees from a nearby orchard. He would listen to the gentle patter on the roof, a rhythmic, soothing sound, a promise of growth. He would watch the tiny buds swell and burst, the slow unfurling of new life, and he would translate these observations into practical advice, into short, pithy sentences that distilled the essence of time and nature. His quill would move across the paper, a soft, almost imperceptible scratch, weaving together astronomical calculations with homely wisdom. Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. He wasn't just recording the movements of the planets, he was observing the patterns of human behavior, the rhythms of a well-ordered life, the quiet wisdom that came from living in harmony with the natural world. He watched the farmers in the fields from afar, their lives dictated by the sun and the soil, and he understood that their simple existence held profound truths. He saw the geese fly south, then north again, the squirrels burying nuts, the bees gathering pollen, each creature following its ancient, inherited schedule. The pages of his almanac grew, filled with predictions of eclipses and tides, alongside weather forecasts and moral precepts. Each entry was a small anchor in the vast sea of time, a guidepost for the common man and woman navigating the uncertainties of their days. He crafted these phrases with care, like a clockmaker assembling delicate gears, ensuring each word served its purpose. Each maxim offered a clear, comforting direction. The turning pages were like the turning seasons themselves, a predictable cycle that brought comfort and meaning. He was an architect of time, not just measuring it, but interpreting it, making its grand, indifferent flow feel accessible, even benevolent. Summer would bring longer, warmer days, the air thick with the buzzing of insects, the distant sound of children playing in the sun. He would feel the warmth radiating from the brick walls of his home, a slow, gentle heat that settled into the evening. And then the gradual shift again, the crispness returning to the air, the leaves turning to gold and crimson, a final spectacular flourish before the quiet slumber of autumn. The harvesting, the gathering, the preparation for the long, cold nights. He saw it all, absorbed it all, and distilled it into the pages of his poor Richard's almanac. This rhythmic unfolding of the year, this dependable cycle of growth and rest, was a profound comfort. It was a reminder that even amidst the daily uncertainties, the larger patterns of existence held firm. The sun would always rise, the moon would always wax and wane, the seasons would always turn. His almanac was a quiet testament to this enduring order, a gentle guide to living in harmony with the world's ancient pulse. As he closed the heavy cover of a finished manuscript, the faint scent of ink and paper mingled with the lingering warmth of the fire, and the quiet sounds of the night would settle around him, a soft, enveloping peace. The world outside his window, with its endless cycles, felt predictable, safe, a cradle rocking gently through the vastness of time. Then came the summer of 1752, a season heavy with the scent of damp earth and the promise of storms. He had been pondering the nature of lightning, that sudden, terrifying flash across the sky. For many years, was it indeed a form of electricity? A question that hung in the air, charged and waiting. He had designed his experiment with meticulous care, crafting a simple silk kite, a delicate frame of cedar, and a long, wet hemp string. It was not a grand public spectacle he sought, but a quiet, almost private communion with the forces of nature. One particular afternoon, the sky grew heavy, bruised with purple and gray, and the air thickened, humid and still, carrying the faint metallic scent of an approaching storm. He gathered his materials, his young son William by his side, and they made their way to a small, isolated shed, a simple wooden structure that offered shelter from the coming deluge. The wind began to pick up, rustling through the leaves of the elm trees, a low, sighing sound that grew steadily into a mournful whistle. Soon, the first drops of rain began to fall, fat and heavy, spattering against the dry earth, raising tiny puffs of dust. Then the sky opened. It was not a violent, clattering downpour, but a thick, steady curtain of rain, a dense, continuous sheet that blurred the edges of the world. The sound was immediate and encompassing, a deep, resonant drumming on the shed's wooden roof, a soft, rushing whisper as it swept across the surrounding fields, and a constant, shimmering hiss as it drenched every leaf and blade of grass. Inside the small shed, the air was cool and damp, carrying the clean, earthy smell of rain, soaked wood. He stood, his gaze fixed on the kite string which disappeared upwards into the gray, swirling mass of clouds. The silk kite, now a dark, soaked shape, was high above, a silent sentinel in the heart of the tempest. The hemp string, heavy with moisture, ran down from the kite through the opening in the shed and into his hand. It was wet, cold, and slightly abrasive against his skin. Near the end of the string he had attached a small brass key, a simple, ordinary object now poised at the edge of an extraordinary discovery. He held the string, his body still, his breath shallow, listening to the relentless symphony of the rain. The world outside the shed was a blur of water and muted sound, a soft, enveloping white noise that pressed in from all sides. The rhythmic drumming on the roof was constant, hypnotic, a lullaby of the storm. He could feel the fine spray drifting in through the open doorway, a cool mist on his face. He watched the water stream down the wet string, a continuous, silvery thread, each drop a tiny, perfect sphere. Minutes stretched into a long, quiet vigil. The air inside the shed grew heavy, thick with the scent of ozone and wet earth. He was utterly focused, his mind a still pool of concentration. Waiting. There were no dramatic flashes of lightning nearby, no deafening claps of thunder to startle him. Only the steady, insistent roar of the rain, a constant, comforting presence. He allowed the sound to wash over him, to fill the space, to create a protective cocoon of sound. The steady pulse of the falling water was a reminder of nature's power. Yet here in the small, dry shelter, he was safe, an observer, not a participant in its fury. He watched the key, an ordinary object, now imbued with such potential. He reached out a finger, bringing it close to the brass, waiting for the subtlest sign. The rain continued its ceaseless descent, a soft gray curtain, an unending whisper. He felt a profound sense of peace in this waiting, a quiet anticipation that was almost meditative. The world beyond the shed had dissolved into a vast, watery expanse, and only this small space, this quiet man, and the wet string existed. Then, a subtle shift, a faint, almost imperceptible tingle in his fingertips, a minuscule spark, a tiny fleeting point of light, jumped from the key to his knuckle. It was not a violent shock, not a dramatic revelation, but a soft, almost shy whisper of discovery. A silent confirmation, a gentle touch from the sky. The electricity, the force that powered the raging storm, had traveled down the wet string, a silent messenger, into his waiting hand. He felt no fear, only a profound sense of quiet satisfaction. The rain continued its steady song, now a comforting backdrop to the knowledge that had just settled upon him. The storm, once a source of terror, was now understood, its secrets gently unveiled. He stood there for a while longer, the rain still drumming its ceaseless rhythm on the roof, the air cool and clean. The world was still wild and untamed, but he had found a key, a tiny luminous spark within its vast, roaring heart. And in that quiet, rain-drenched moment, a sense of profound order of understanding settled over him, as gentle and pervasive as the falling rain itself. The sound of the storm, once a source of apprehension, now became a soft, deep hum, a lullaby of discovery, a reminder of the secure, dry sanctuary he occupied, while the world outside continued its cleansing, rhythmic descent. The vastness of the Atlantic Ocean was a familiar companion throughout his life. 8 times he crossed its boundless expanse, each journey a rhythm of rolling waves and endless horizons. It was on these long voyages, far from the demands of land, that a different kind of observation took hold. The ship itself became a cradle, a large wooden shell creaking and groaning with the sea's gentle sway. The sound of the waves, a constant, soothing murmur, became the soundtrack to weeks, sometimes months, of travel. It was a deep, resonant sigh as the water met the hull, a soft rush as the foam parted, and a distant, almost hypnotic hiss as the waves receded into the immensity of the deep blue. He was not one to be idle, even when confined to the relatively small world of a sailing ship. While others might have passed the time with cards or conversation, his mind was always seeking patterns, always asking questions. He noticed the speed of the ship, how it varied from one journey to the next, and how it seemed to be affected by unseen currents. He spoke with the seasoned captains, the whalers who knew the ocean as intimately as he knew the streets of Philadelphia. They spoke of Gulf streams, warm currents that flowed eastward, aiding their passage across the great sea. But these were often vague observations, passed down through generations of mariners, lacking the precision that Franklin craved. So he began to measure. He carried with him a simple thermometer, a slender glass tube filled with mercury. Day after day, as the ship cut its path through the water, he would perform his quiet ritual. He would lower the thermometer into the deep blue, allowing it to sink beneath the surface. to take the temperature of the vast, unseen body of water. The sound was minimal, a soft, almost imperceptible plink as the glass entered the cool, dark depths, followed by a gentle ripple as the line disappeared. He would wait patiently, allowing the mercury to settle to register the ocean's temperature. Then he would retrieve it, his movements slow and deliberate, the glass tube glistening with seawater. He would hold it up, examining the fine column of mercury, noting the precise reading. He recorded these numbers meticulously in his journal, a quiet tabulation of the ocean's invisible life. He noticed that in certain latitudes, the water was significantly warmer than expected, a clear, unmistakable band of heat cutting through the cooler surrounding waters. This was it, the fabled Gulf Stream, not a myth, but a measurable, tangible reality. The ship would roll, a gentle, continuous motion, a rhythmic dip and rise that mirrored the slow, steady rhythm of breathing. The masts would creak softly, a long, drawn-out sigh of wood under tension, and the sails would billow and snap with a soft, persistent rustle. These sounds, combined with the endless murmur of the waves, created a deeply soothing environment. It was like being rocked in a giant hammock, suspended between the vastness of the sky and the immensity of the sea. The feeling was one of profound surrender, of being carried effortlessly by forces far greater than oneself. He would spend hours on deck, leaning against the sturdy wooden rail, gazing out at the horizon. The ocean was an ever-changing tapestry of blues and greens, sometimes a deep, almost inky indigo that hinted at unimaginable depths, other times a brighter, more vibrant cerulean reflecting the clear sky above. The sunlight would shimmer on the surface, a million dancing diamonds, and in the distance the faint white caps of waves would appear, growing larger as they approached, then dissolving into foam against the ship's hull. The discovery of the Gulf Stream was not a dramatic, sudden flash, but a slow, methodical unveiling, a quiet triumph of persistent observation. It was the understanding that beneath the seemingly uniform surface of the ocean lay a hidden river, a warm, powerful current that shaped voyages, influenced weather, and connected continents. He charted its course, mapped its boundaries, and shared his findings with the mariners, providing them with a clearer, more efficient path across the sea. This journey of discovery, undertaken amidst the rocking of the ship and the lullaby of the waves, was deeply calming. It was a reminder of the hidden order that exists even in the most chaotic seeming environments. The ocean, with its boundless expanse, held predictable currents, warm rivers flowing silently beneath the surface, guiding the way. As the ship continued its steady progress, carried by the very current he had identified, the rhythmic sway became a deeper, more profound comfort. It was the primal motion of rest, of being held and transported, a gentle, ceaseless movement that invited the mind to drift, to release its grip, and to simply be. The deep blue water, the creaking of the ship, the endless, rhythmic murmur of the waves, all conspired to create a perfect, natural lull, a sense of being cradled by the vast, warm heart of the world. The London fog, a pervasive, soft gray shroud, often greeted him in the mornings. It clung to the cobblestones of Craven Street, muffling the clop of hooves and the distant cries of street vendors into a gentle, indistinct hum. The air was perpetually damp, carrying the faint, earthy scent of coal smoke in the river's breath. Inside the tall, narrow house on Craven Street, where he had taken up residence, a different kind of warmth prevailed. The glow of a carefully tended fireplace cast dancing shadows on the walls, chasing away the chill that seeped in from the foggy lanes. Here, amidst the quiet ticking of a grandfather clock and the rustle of turning pages, Benjamin Franklin found a temporary haven. He had arrived in London as a colonial agent, a man of reason and science, sent to bridge the widening chasm between the colonies and the mother country. The task was monumental, fraught with misunderstandings and stubborn pride on both sides. Yet Franklin approached it with his characteristic blend of pragmatism and quiet determination. His days were a careful balance of diplomatic meetings, scientific experiments, and the rich intellectual life that London offered. In the mornings, after his usual methodical routine, he might sit at his desk by the window, watching the figures emerge slowly from the swirling mist outside. The windowpanes, often beaded with condensation, framed a world softened at its edges, a world that seemed to hold its breath. He would write, his quill scratching softly across the parchment, composing letters to family, scientific observations, or carefully worded petitions to Parliament. The only sounds were the gentle hiss of the fire, the occasional distant clang of a bell, and the rhythmic inhale and exhale of his own quiet thoughts. Later, he might venture out, stepping from the warmth of his home into the cool, damp embrace of the city. The cobblestones, slick with moisture, reflected the muted light, creating a shimmering path. The gas lamps, when lit, cast a soft yellow glow that struggled to pierce the dense fog, turning familiar streets into mysterious passages. He walked with a measured pace, his mind often deep in contemplation, the sounds of his footsteps echoing softly before being absorbed by the vast, damp air. His intellectual curiosity drew him to the city's burgeoning coffee houses, which served as vibrant hubs of discussion and debate. Stepping inside, one was immediately enveloped by the rich aroma of roasted coffee and tobacco, a comforting counterpoint to the damp outside. Here, the low murmur of conversations, a constant, soothing drone, filled the air. The clinking of porcelain cups and saucers, the occasional clearing of a throat, the soft rustle of newspapers being unfolded funde. These were the subtle sounds of Enlightenment thought taking shape. He would listen, observe, and occasionally offer a quiet, insightful comment, his presence a steadying influence amidst passionate arguments. Afternoons often brought the ritual of afternoon tea, a moment of civilized pause. In drawing rooms bathed in the soft, diffused light filtering through heavy curtains, the delicate clinking of teacups and the gentle stirring of spoons created a refined symphony. The steam rising from the hot tea carried a subtle, comforting fragrance, mingling with the scent of polished wood and old books. He would engage in polite, yet profound conversations with fellow intellectuals, scientists, and politicians, always seeking common ground, always tried to inject a note of reason into the escalating tensions. The quiet hum of intellectual exchange, the soft laughter, the almost imperceptible rustle of silk garments, all contributed to an atmosphere of cultivated calm, even as the stormy clouds of revolution gathered on the horizon. Back in his Craven Street study, as dusk settled early over London, he often found himself by the fireplace. The flames danced, casting a warm, flickering light that painted the room in shades of amber and rose. He might read, the pages turning with a soft sigh, or simply gaze into the fire, allowing his thoughts to drift. The outside world, with its damp chill and political anxieties, felt distant, held at bay by the thick walls and the comforting crackle of the burning logs. He sought, in these quiet moments, to find a rational path forward, to weave a tapestry of understanding from the frayed threads of colonial discontent and imperial pride. The quiet resolve of a man trying to prevent a war, seated by a London fireplace, surrounded by the gentle warmth of his thoughts, became a silent plea for peace in the heart of a city, often shrouded in shadows and fog. The gentle whisper of the fire, the soft sigh of the wind outside, and the deep, steady rhythm of his own breathing filled the space, a quiet insistence on order amidst the gathering chaos. The summer air in Philadelphia hung heavy and still, a thick, humid blanket draped over the city. Inside the Pennsylvania State House, where the Continental Congress convened, the atmosphere was even more oppressive. The windows were kept tightly shut, not only to ward off the stifling heat, but also to preserve the absolute secrecy of their deliberations. The air, thick and unmoving, seemed to absorb all sound, leaving only a profound, almost breathless silence, broken sporadically by the creak of a chair or the rustle of a nervous cough. In this chamber, on long, sweltering afternoons, history was being meticulously crafted, word by carefully chosen word. Before each delegate, laid out on polished wooden tables, were sheets of parchment waiting to receive the indelible marks of their collective resolve. And then the sound began, not a clamor, not a roar, but a delicate, almost whispered symphony, the scratch of dozens of quill pens against the fibrous surface of the parchment. It was a sound both fragile and profound, the rhythmic whisper of creation. Each quill, tipped with a sharpened feather, danced across the page, leaving behind a trail of dark, wet ink. There was a subtle variation in the sound feigned, the confident, swift stroke of a bold writer, the hesitant, lighter touch of one weighing each syllable, the tiny pause as an inkwell was dipped. Together, they formed a continuous soft rustle, a collective murmur that spoke of intense concentration and the immense weight of the moment. Benjamin Franklin, the oldest among them, sat with a quiet dignity, his spectacles perched low on his nose. He was not a man given to grand, impassioned speeches in this chamber. His power lay in his wisdom, his wit, and his ability to distill complex ideas into clear, concise language. While others debated with fervor, their voices sometimes rising in frustration, Franklin remained a calm anchor. He listened, his gaze steady, his expression often thoughtful, sometimes with a faint, knowing smile playing on his lips. When he did speak, his voice was measured, often accompanied by a gentle, self-deprecating humor that had a remarkable way of diffusing tension. He understood the power of a well-placed anecdote, a brief, pointed observation that could cut through rhetorical fog. His suggestions for wording were always precise, aimed at clarity and universal appeal. He was the master craftsman, honing the edges of arguments, smoothing out rough phrases, ensuring that the Declaration of Independence would resonate not just with the present generation, but with all future ones. The parchment itself was a tactile presence in the room. Its slightly rough surface absorbed the ink, each letter forming a permanent record. One could almost imagine the faint scent of the sheepskin, mingling with the metallic tang of the ink and the subtle, dusty smell of the old chamber itself. Hands, some young and eager, others gnarled with age, gripped the quills. Fingers, stained with ink, occasionally paused, hovering over a word weighing its significance. The occasional sigh, a soft exhalation of breath, would punctuate the steady scratching, a testament to the mental effort being expended. The windows, sealed against the world outside, allowed no breeze to stir the heavy curtains. Beads of sweat might form on brows, but no one seemed to notice the discomfort. All attention was focused on the delicate dance of ink on paper, on the slow, deliberate construction of a foundational document. The light filtering through the high windows was muted, creating a soft, almost reverent glow over the proceedings. Dust motes, caught in the shafts of light, danced slowly in the stagnant air, seemingly suspended in time, oblivious to the momentous act unfolding beneath them. Franklin would occasionally lean forward, peering at a phrase, perhaps suggesting a slight alteration, a more elegant turn of phrase that would elevate the prose without sacrificing its power. His contributions were often quiet nudges, subtle refinements that collectively shaped the declaration into the eloquent and enduring statement it became. He sought not to dominate, but to perfect, to ensure that the words would stand the test of time, a beacon of liberty for generations to come. As the hours passed, the sound of the quills continued, a relentless, quiet testament to the birth of a nation. Each scratch was a tiny act of creation, a stroke of defiance, a commitment to a new future. The air in the room, heavy with the scent of ink and parchment, vibrated with the silent intensity of their purpose. And through it all, the steady, calming presence of Franklin, the quiet architect of compromise and clarity, ensured that the words they inscribed would carry the full weight of their shared aspiration, a whispered promise etched in ink for all the world to hear. The faint, rhythmic sound of the quills, a historical asmar, continued its gentle cadence, a lullaby of revolution. The journey to Passy, a tranquil village just outside the bustling heart of Paris, was a transition from the damp, gray restraint of London to a world of softer light and more fluid elegance. Here, Benjamin Franklin, now in his late 70s, took up residence in a charming house nestled amidst sprawling, manicured gardens. The air was often fragrant with the scent of blooming roses and jasmine, carried on a gentle breeze that rustled through the leaves of ancient trees. The sounds were different tooth and ivy, the distant, cheerful chirping of birds, the gentle murmur of a nearby stream, and the occasional, almost lyrical chime of a village church bell. This was a different kind of diplomacy, not the sober, often contentious negotiations of London, but a delicate dance of charm, intellect, and personal magnetism. Franklin arrived in France already a celebrated figure, renowned for his scientific discoveries and his image as the quintessential American sage. He embraced this role with a quiet grace, cultivating an aura of rustic wisdom that captivated the French aristocracy. His iconic fur cap became a symbol, a deliberate contrast to the powdered wigs and elaborate fashions of the Parisian elite. It lent him an air of approachable genius, a man of profound thought who was unburdened by superficial conventions. In the elegant salons of Paris, bathed in the soft golden glow of candlelight, he would engage in low philosophical conversations with French noblewomen and intellectuals. The rustle of silk gowns, a soft, whispering sound, would accompany their movements, creating a gentle counterpoint to the more formal tones of the French language. These evenings were a sensory delight. The air was often subtly perfumed, a blend of floral notes and the delicate scent of fine fabrics. The candlelight, shimmering on polished silver and crystal, cast warm, dancing shadows, softening every face and creating an atmosphere of intimate conviviality. Franklin, often seated comfortably, perhaps by a roaring fireplace or near a window overlooking the moonlit gardens, would share anecdotes, offer insights into American ideals, or simply listen with an attentive, benevolent gaze. His wit, delivered with a twinkle in his eye, was a powerful tool, capable of eliciting soft laughter that rippled through the room like a gentle wave. The French gardens themselves were a source of profound tranquility. He would often stroll along the gravel paths, the gentle crunch of pebbles beneath his shoes providing a soothing rhythm. The meticulously arranged flower beds, the serene ponds reflecting the sky, the carefully sculpted hedges, sideway, all spoke of an ordered beauty, a world designed for contemplation and quiet enjoyment. The distant splash of a fountain, the gentle sigh of the wind through the trees, these natural sounds blended seamlessly with the refined elegance of his surroundings. Dinners in Passy were often extended affairs, held in rooms illuminated by the warm, flickering glow of countless candles. The clinking of delicate cutlery against fine porcelain, the soft pouring of wine, the hushed conversations that ebbed and flowed around the table. Fort, these sounds created a symphony of refined ease. Franklin, ever the observer, would often engage in a quiet game of chess by candlelight after dinner, his brow furrowed in concentration, the soft click of the wooden pieces on the board a hypnotic sound. He was not merely a diplomat seeking alliances. He was a revered elder, a living embodiment of the Enlightenment, enjoying the fruits of a life well lived and a mind perpetually curious. His presence in Passy was a masterclass in soft power. He charmed, he enlightened, he inspired. The French, captivated by his simplicity and profound wisdom, found themselves drawn to the American cause not just out of political calculation, but out of genuine admiration for the man himself. The weight of his mission to secure vital French aid for the struggling American colonies was borne with an outward air of serene enjoyment. He allowed his personal charm to pave the way, knowing that genuine connection could achieve more than stern demands. As the evenings deepened and the last embers in the fireplace glowed softly, casting a final, lingering warmth, Franklin would often retire with a book or simply sit in quiet reflection. The sounds of the house settling for the night 20, the gentle creak of old timbers, the distant hoot of an owl from the garden, the soft whisper of the wind against the panes pre-adding, created a cocoon of peace. The soft rustle of his nightshirt as he moved, the gentle sigh as he settled into his armchair, all spoke of a man finding comfort and contentment in his twilight years, amidst the soft hues and gentle rhythms of a Parisian dream. The golden glow of candlelight, the rustle of silk, the low murmur of philosophical discourse, these were the soothing textures of his triumphant diplomacy, a quiet, effective art practiced in the heart of France. The year is 1787. Summer in Philadelphia hangs heavy and humid, a familiar blanket of warmth that Benjamin Franklin has known for decades. But this time, the heat feels different, pressing down on an older, more fragile frame. He is 81 years old now, his once robust body thinned by time, his steps slower, more deliberate. The Constitutional Convention is in full swing, a crucible of ideas and fierce arguments, all unfolding within the hallowed halls of the Pennsylvania State House. The windows are often closed, not for the heat, but for the sacred secrecy of their task, trapping the dense air and the murmur of impassioned voices within. He sits, as he often does, a quiet anchor in a storm of debate. His eyesight, once sharp enough to observe the most minute details of nature, is now a soft blur around the edges, the faces of the younger delegates becoming indistinct shapes. Their voices, too, sometimes recede into a distant hum, like the drone of summer bees, or the far-off rush of a river. He can feel the vibrations of their arguments more than he can perfectly discern each word. A symphony of conviction and compromise playing out around him. His presence alone is a balm, a reminder of wisdom and patience in a room full of fiery young men. He is a living bridge to an earlier era, a whisper of the past guiding the future. His gaze, when it clears, often drifts to the back of General Washington's chair, the ornate wooden seat where the convention's president presides. Carved into the backrest, a golden half-sun gleams, its rays fanning out in silent splendor. It is a striking detail, an emblem of hope or perhaps a symbol of uncertainty, depending on the day's progress. Sometimes, as the arguments rise and fall, threatening to splinter the nascent nation before it has even properly formed, the sun seems to shimmer, a silent question mark. Is it a rising sun, promising a new dawn, or a setting sun, marking the end of a grand, ambitious experiment? Franklin has watched many suns rise and set in his long life. He has seen the dawn of new ideas, the fiery midday of revolution, and the gentle twilight of reflection. Now, in this pivotal moment, his role is less about sharp rhetoric and more about the quiet weight of his experience. He rarely stands to speak, for his legs, though still capable of carrying him, protest the effort. When he does offer his thoughts, they are often read by a younger delegate, his voice a calm counterpoint to the passionate declarations of others. His words, even when delivered by another, carry the resonance of a lifetime spent in service, a lifetime dedicated to the pursuit of order and progress. He feels a profound weariness, not of spirit but of the body. It is the deep, bone, weary fatigue of a mission nearing its completion. The grand architecture of a new nation is slowly taking shape, brick by painstaking brick, and he has played his part in laying the foundation. The debates are complex, the compromise is difficult, but there is an underlying sense of purpose, a shared desire to forge something enduring. He watches the younger delegates, their brows furrowed in concentration, their hands gesturing emphatically, and a quiet sense of peace settles over him. He has passed the torch, or rather, he has helped to kindle the flame that these men will now carry forward. The dust motes dance in the shafts of sunlight that pierce the high windows, illuminating the aged wood of the floor, the worn leather of the chairs, the subtle sheen on the delegates' powdered wigs. Each particle, suspended in the air, seems to hold a tiny fragment of history, a silent witness to the momentous decisions being made. The air is thick with anticipation, with the gravity of their purpose. Franklin's hand, gnarled with age, rests on the head of his walking cane, its smooth, polished wood a familiar comfort. He can feel the subtle tremors of the building, the echoes of footsteps in the corridor, the distant rumble of a carriage passing outside. These are the sounds of a living, breathing city, a city that he has helped to shape, a city that now stands on the cusp of a new era. He closes his eyes for a moment, letting the sounds and sensations wash over him. The distant clatter of hooves on cobblestones, the faint cries of street vendors, the persistent hum of the city beyond the walls. It is a symphony of life, a constant reminder of the world that this new constitution is meant to serve. He breathes slowly, deeply, allowing the gentle rhythm of his own breath to calm the subtle anxieties that still prickle at the edges of his consciousness. He has done what he can. The path ahead is now for others to walk, to build upon the foundations laid, to nurture the fragile seedling of this new republic. There is a serenity in this relinquishment, a quiet acceptance of the natural order of things. The sun, whether rising or setting, continues its majestic journey across the heavens, indifferent to the machinations of men, yet always present, always a source of light and life. And as his own personal sun begins its gentle descent, he finds a quiet comfort in the knowledge that he has helped to ensure that the sun of this new nation will indeed rise, bright and hopeful, upon the horizon. The scent of old paper and leather, mingled with the faint, sweet perfume of wood polish, fills the air. This is the aroma of his home, his sanctuary in the twilight of his years. After the grand stages of international diplomacy and the intense debates of nation, building Benjamin Franklin has returned to the quiet embrace of his Philadelphia residence. Here, surrounded by the physical manifestation of a lifetime of curiosity and learning, he finds a profound sense of peace. The walls are lined with books, floor to ceiling, their spines a kaleidoscope of colors and textures, each volume a portal to another mind, another era. The soft glow of a lamp illuminates a corner, casting long, gentle shadows that dance with the subtle movements of the air. He sits in his favorite chair, a marvel of his own ingenious design. It is no ordinary seat, but a testament to his lifelong passion for practical invention. With a simple, satisfying click and slide, the chair transforms, its backrest folding down to become a set of sturdy steps, allowing him to reach the highest shelves of his vast library. This is a small, quiet pleasure, the ability to access any book, any idea with ease without needing to summon assistance. Beside it, often leaning against a stack of well-worn tomes, is another of his creations, a long wooden pole tipped with a small, gripping mechanism, perfect for gently retrieving a desired volume from an elevated perch. The soft rustle of pages, the gentle thud of a book settling into his lap thushi. These are the soundscapes of his final reflective years. The rhythmic tick, talk of a grandfather clock in the hallway marks the slow, deliberate passage of time. Each beat is a quiet reminder of life's steady current, a comforting, predictable pulse in a world that has often been chaotic and unpredictable. The sound is deep, resonant, a reassuring counterpoint to the gentle breathing of the house. Sometimes, in the quiet of the afternoon, the only other sound is the soft murmur of his grandchildren. They flit through the rooms, their youthful energy a bright contrast to his settled calm, their voices like distant, musical chimes. They bring him drawings, ask him questions about the world, their innocent curiosity a reflection of his own enduring spirit. He watches them with a gentle smile, their presence a soft warmth in the room, a living testament to the continuity of life. One of his greatest pleasures in these later years is his daily ritual of bathing. He has always been a proponent of cleanliness and comfort, and his bath is no ordinary affair. He designed a special tub, deeper and wider than most, equipped with a comfortable headrest. Here, immersed in the soothing warmth of the water, he would often read, the steam rising around him like a soft, comforting cloud, the gentle slosh of the water as he shifts, the quiet turning of a page, the steady warmth enveloping his weary limbs thigh-deep. These are moments of pure, unadulterated serenity. The water itself seems to whisper ancient secrets, carrying away the day's small aches and anxieties, leaving behind only a sense of profound relaxation. He might be reading a philosophical treatise, a new scientific discovery, or perhaps a collection of poetry, his mind still eager to absorb and understand. The paper, slightly damp from the steam, feels soft beneath his fingertips. The words on the page seem to float imbued with a gentle, dreamlike quality. The world outside the tub with its demands and its worries recedes into a distant hum. In this private oasis, surrounded by the quiet ticking of the clock, the gentle warmth of the water, and the silent company of his books, he is truly at peace. The late afternoon light filters through the window, painting stripes of gold across the polished floorboards. Dust motes, caught in the sunbeams, dance like tiny ephemeral stars. The air is still save for the occasional creak of an old house settling, or the distant call of a bird from the garden. His breath comes in slow, even measures, a testament to the profound calm that envelops him. The weight of his long and eventful life, the burdens of statesmanship, the relentless pursuit of knowledge thifty, all seem to dissipate in this tranquil setting. He is simply an old man, surrounded by the things he loves, content in the knowledge that he has lived a life of purpose, a life well examined. The soft weight of the book in his hands, the gentle embrace of the warm water, the steady rhythm of the clock soon. These are the anchors that hold him in this peaceful harbor, guiding him towards the deeper rest that awaits. The city sleeps now, a vast, breathing entity draped in the velvet cloak of night. But even in its slumber, the silent presence of Benjamin Franklin's genius continues to guard and illuminate. Look closely at the streets, at the soft, steady glow emanating from the streetlights. These are not the haphazard, flickering torches of an earlier age. These are the descendants of Franklin's innovative designs, his commitment to making public spaces safer, more orderly, more welcoming after dusk. The light spills onto the cobblestones, creating pools of gentle illumination, guiding the way for the occasional late-night traveler, or simply offering a sense of security to those tucked away in their beds. The quiet hum of the electrical grid, a subtle, almost imperceptible vibration, carries the echo of his pioneering experiments with lightning, his understanding of the very force that now powers these lights. And when the heavens open, as they often do in a sudden summer storm, listen to the drumming of the rain on the rooftops. Feel the rumble of distant thunder, a powerful, ancient sound that once struck terror into the hearts of men. But now, nestled safely in your home, there is a quiet reassurance. High above, on countless rooftops, slender, metallic rods stand sentinel against the fury of the sky. These are Franklin's lightning rods, his most dramatic and widely adopted invention, a testament to his belief that human ingenuity could tame even the most destructive forces of nature. They stand silently, stoically, drawing the powerful charge from the angry clouds, guiding it harmlessly into the earth. There is no flash, no dramatic crackle, only the quiet, unwavering protection of a principle understood, a force harnessed. He never sought to profit from these inventions, never filed a patent for his lightning rod, or his bifocal spectacles, or his efficient stove. Instead, he freely gave them to the world, a boundless gift of practical wisdom. His legacy is etched not in personal wealth, but in the collective well-being of humanity. Think of the public libraries, those quiet sanctuaries of knowledge, where anyone, regardless of station, can access the accumulated wisdom of the ages. Franklin founded the first lending library in America, a radical idea in its time, believing that an informed populace was the bedrock of a free society. The soft rustle of pages, the gentle turning of a leaf in a quiet reading room. These are the enduring sounds of his vision for an enlightened world. Consider the fire departments, the organized efforts to protect homes and lives from the devastating power of uncontrolled flames. Franklin was instrumental in establishing Philadelphia's first volunteer fire company, a model that spread rapidly throughout the colonies. The distant wail of a siren, the coordinated efforts of firefighters, the sense of communal safety thorny. These are the living, breathing manifestations of his foresight and civic spirit. He understood that true progress lay not just in individual brilliance, but in the collaborative efforts of a community working together for the common good. So, as the night deepens, and the world outside grows still, know that you are surrounded by the quiet echoes of a man who devoted his life to order, to safety, to the gentle illumination of both mind and matter. The light from the street lamp outside your window, the silent guardian on your roof, the very idea of shared knowledge and collective protection. 40. These are the enduring gifts of Benjamin Franklin. His spirit of invention, his boundless generosity, his unwavering faith in reason and progress, continue to weave a tapestry of safety and comfort around us all. Let the soft glow of these distant lights guide your thoughts. Feel the quiet assurance that, even in the darkest hours, wisdom and ingenuity stand watch. Allow the gentle rhythm of the night, the distant hum of the world he helped to shape, to lull you into a deep and peaceful sleep. Rest now, knowing that the inventor of peace has made the world a brighter, safer, and more orderly place for you to dream. Close your eyes, let your breath grow slow and even, and drift into the quiet embrace of slumber. The world is safe and you are protected. Sleep deeply,